Tonight we are coming towards the end of the beautiful program that we've been greatly enjoying for the last several days, the Essential Attitudes for Success on the Spiritual Path with Asha Nayaswami. So we'd like to give Asha Nayaswami a very warm welcome. And we'd like to introduce Asha Nayaswami for all those who just arrived at the ashram. Asha Nayaswami, in 1969, when she was 22, Asha met Swami Kriyananda, a direct disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda. The recognition was instantaneous. From that day to the present, Asha has dedicated herself to learning and practicing the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda as Swami Kriyananda taught them. Asha Nayaswami is the founding member of two Ananda spiritual communities. The first, Ananda Village, located in the rural area. The second, Ananda Palo Alto and Silicon Valley in California, where she has resided for the last 36 years. Asha Nayaswami is Ananda's global ambassador, sharing the Guru's teaching all over the world. And she's the author of 4 books and has an extensive presence online. And for the past several days, she's been sharing different teachings on the subject of essential attitudes for success on the spiritual path. So tonight will be the last night. So we'd like to give a very big hand to Asha Nayaswami. Let's give her a very big hand. And also, we'd like to welcome and to give a very big hand for the wonderful accompanying musician, Dambara. Let's give Dambara a very big hand. And just to mention also that we have Asha Nayaswami, several of her books in the store, in the boutique, so you're welcome to enjoy. So let's give them another big hand.
It is, as I have said every time I've stood with this microphone in my hand, it's just an absolute joy to be with all of you. I would like to start with a few songs by my friend here, written by Swami Kriyananda. He called them various things, sermons in song or philosophy in song. Seems a more painless way to deliver the message. So we'll start with a little music.
So this first song celebrates God as expressed through nature, through various aspects of nature. And you get to sing on the chorus. And the chorus is, Mother, we thank you. Your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Birds sing of freedom as they soar lightly on the air. So may our hearts soar high above all curbs and care. Mother, we thank you. Your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Let's try that with you singing. Mother, we thank you. Your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Trees standing firm hold the secret of inner power. Give us when tested strength to endure. Mother, we thank you. Your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Here we go. Stars send a message of light through eternity. Lord, when in darkness your radiance we see. Mother, we thank you. Your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may see. Flowers so soft and fragile stay fragrant though pressed to the ground. May we thus learn forbearance, for in kindness love is found. Mother, we thank you. Your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Mountains remote and still hint at higher worlds unseen. So may our lives be soaring and serene. Mother, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Last one. Rivers seek passage unhindered by rock or tree. So may our lives flow steadfast toward the sea. Mother, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. One more time. Mother, we thank you, your joy shines in everything. Open these channels that the world once more may sing. Well done. Thank you. This is a song written by an Ananda member based on 2 poems by Paramhansa Yogananda called Keep Calling Him. Keep calling him, keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. In the temple of unceasing prayer, believe that he's approaching there. And call to him, keep calling him. Thou dost know I'm praying, Lord, you know I love no other. I'll speak not nor ask when to expect from you an answer. My heart, I'll call to thee again. Join me if you like. Keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. I'll wash thy feet of silence with the waters of my tears. The altar of my soul will be empty till thou comest. I'll wait for thee, no matter days or years. Keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. In the center of my heart, I have a mystic throne for thee. The candles of my joys are dimly burning now in hope, awaiting thy coming. Though it be eternity, keep calling him, keep calling him. Whether he replies or not, keep calling him. Even when there's no reply, never let your longing die. And call to him, keep calling him. Remain persistent, undepressed, through dark and seeming silence. If in the midst of life, disease, and death you play the dancer, yet keep calling him, you will receive his answer. Keep calling him, keep calling him, keep calling him.
One of the extremely well-known passages in the Bible, the New Testament, is where Jesus says, "Suffer little children to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven." And one of the things that keeps us so distant from what our heart is really longing for, which is that perfect love and that sense of perfect fulfillment, is that we have such a confused idea of who we're supposed to be. You know, in this world which is so uncongenial these days toward true devotion, we build up a psychic wall around ourselves, and we begin to become confused as to what we're supposed to do. When I first visited what became my home for 16 years, which is the rural community of Ananda, it was actually I visited in the summer of 1970, and I went into the little hut, which is really all it was, where the reception office was, and there were two men having a conversation there. And one of the men, as it turned out, had started a little enterprise. We were very poor in those days. We were fledgling in what the work we were doing. And he'd started this enterprise making jewelry out of the manzanita wood that was there and dried flowers, completely zero overhead. And so it was a good project for us. And there was an old abandoned bread truck that somebody had left on the property ages ago. And because we didn't have money to make buildings, he just set up his little shop inside that bread truck. And then, as it happened, some other person, because we also weren't very coordinated in those days, decided that that bread truck was an eyesore and brought a tractor up and pulled it off and then pushed it over a cliff. So his whole little business was just over the cliff and finished. All of this I learned later. But I'm in there, and these two men are talking to each other, and this man, the man who was the jeweler, who actually went on to become a real jeweler, he said, "I thought Mother wanted me to do the business, and so I was doing it because I thought Mother wanted, but I guess Mother didn't want it because she threw the bread truck over the edge of the cliff. And so now my business is gone." So I'm standing there, and I'm brand new to all of this, and I think to myself, this man is very old to just be doing what his mother wants him to do. And I also thought, what kind of a mother would torture her son like that? You know, so I mean, like, what have I gotten myself into here? I'm kind of looking around. But then I found out that he was talking about Divine Mother, which is how Yogananda often talked about God. And I know in the Indian tradition, when you speak of Mother, you're speaking of Mother Kali. But the way Yogananda brought it to the West was more in the way Jesus talked about God as Father. It wasn't about a deity so much as a way of understanding our relationship. So I find out that he's talking about Divine Mother, and believe me, that did not make it better, not at all. And then later I was assigned to work in the kitchen, and I was a food fanatic, but I wasn't a cook. There's a great deal of difference, I assure you. So the cook found out that she told me to make scalloped potatoes, and I had no idea how to make scalloped potatoes. And so this woman says, "Divine Mother, why do you send me helpers like this?" So once more, I'm just standing there thinking, what have I gotten myself into here, like this? And then at some point, not too much later, I had some intense personal dilemma, And I had the opportunity to go to Swami Kriyananda, who's a disciple of Yogananda, who's my teacher for all my life. And I told him I had some big dilemma. I don't know what it was. It was very intellectual, and everything had to be analyzed and figured out. So I told him this big thing of another, and he said, very sweetly, just give it to Divine Mother. Then I waited for him to actually tell me what to do. You know, I had no idea, absolutely no idea what that meant. It seemed to mean something to him, but to me it was just total confusion. Time passes, and you know, one gets used to ashram life, and one begins to shed a lot of things. The strange thing about spiritual life is you think you're not changing until you turn around and realize you've changed completely. You know, because real transformation is not some big dramatic moment. Real transformation is literally like water on stone. And you think nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden you realize that, you know, where there was a solid piece, now there's a soft curve in the rock. And so I was 6 or 7, 8 years later, and now all of a sudden I was in a position, not all of a sudden, but I had come into a position where people were coming to me for advice, and somebody brought to me some impossible dilemma, and I sort of leaned over and I said, just give it to Divine Mother. And just as soon as I thought that, I sort of, you know, like, what? Because I remembered. But what was so interesting to me is I don't remember how that shift happened. And I couldn't tell you, well, this is what you do. First you do this, then you do this, then you do that. It was exactly, like literally, like water on a stone, where we think that our strength comes like this. And we're not wrong, especially in the Western society where most of us live, where individuality is enormously prized, and we're expected, you know, to stand on our own 2 feet and make our own way. And, you know, these are all the things that we have to do. And in this culture, at this time, on this planet, where it's very, very popular to be very, very materialistic, and there's so much confusion about spirituality. There's a rejection of institutionalism and embracing of other realities. You have to have something strong within yourself to sort through all of that, to find yourself in a place like this. And that willpower and that independence is the best thing about us, that gives us the power to be here. But then that very thing that was your friend has to be used in a very different way. Because now what we want to become is now we want to become in tune with this greater reality. And what I realized when I reflected on my 7 or 8 year trajectory from confusion to saying what I didn't even understand at the beginning was the realization that, let me think how to say exactly. I began to understand what I was really looking for in life. You know? It's like, what are we all looking for? Everyone is lonely, and everyone is afraid. We're all afraid of different things. You know, some person laughs at this. I swim in the ocean here. I swim at home. I swim in an indoor heated pool. So going into the ocean is a big story for me. I swim back and forth. I'm not afraid of drowning, but I'm constantly thinking about sharks. And as much as I tell myself, you know, the likelihood is very low, but nonetheless, we all have fears, and they just come to us. Fear of getting old, fear of being alone, fear of losing our mental balance. And so in so many ways, much of our lives is just a hedge against all those fears, no matter whether we even know it or not. I look back on my own life and I see that my whole personality was just running in front of the things I was afraid of. Until finally we begin to realize that this problem can be really solved, but it can be solved in an entirely different way. This is what all the saints and masters tell us. The Curé d'Ars, a French saint, he made this wonderful statement. If you knew how much God loves you, he said, you would die for joy. That's how he puts it. And he's not saying that because he read it in a book. He's saying it because he has opened his heart, really opened his heart to that experience. And what had happened to me over 7 years was inch by inch by inch. I had made the decision that I would try to follow an acronym that a friend of mine made up, a very wonderful devotee named Haridas. He made up an acronym. It's SPY Dog is what he calls it. SPY Dog. He's very funny in the way he says things. And it stands for Solving Problems in Direction of God. Okay? Because we often, whatever difficulty we have, we go everywhere else first. I'll try to, put out my energy and do it this way. I'll try to get on the internet and find out the answer. I'll try to get my friends into it, whatever it might be. But every dis-ease that we feel within ourselves is just because we're not in alignment. There's a story, an autobiography of a yogi, Yogananda's classic book, about his own discipleship and the masters and Babaji and all these. And the story is about a couple of policemen. This is reputed to be a true story. I'm sure it's in that book. And the policemen were looking for a certain dangerous criminal. And there was a sadhu walking down the street, and they'd been told that the criminal was disguising himself as a sadhu. And so they saw this sannyasi walking down the street, and they started telling him, stop, stop. And he wouldn't stop, and so they chased him. And for some reason, the policeman was so enthusiastic that he slashed at him with a machete and cut off his arm. Yeah, oh my gosh, right like that. And then, but the sadhu did not even flinch. He just turned around. He picked up his severed arm. He put it back, and it reattached itself. He turned to the policeman. He said, I'm not the criminal that you're seeking. Okay? He didn't even flinch. Because everything comes from God. Every problem is solved by surrender to the divine. Now, our little lives are not going to be that, hopefully, that challenged. And if my arm was severed, it would just have to stay severed. I don't have the capacity to put it back. But every time we feel a dis-ease, where do we turn for comfort? Where do we look for solutions? What is the real pole star of our existence? Is it our relationship with the divine reality? Whom do we trust to really love and care for us? And do we even trust God in that respect? A friend of mine is one of 5 children, and we were talking about how you learn to trust the Divine Mother. And he told me something so sweet because of the family that he grew up in, but also because of his great devotion to God. He said, as a little child, if one of my brothers or sisters was in trouble, he said, and I was just a small child, there was nothing I could do about it, I would take the problem to my mother. And when I would say to my mother, this one or that one, they're unhappy for this reason. And then he said, the burden would be off my heart because I would know that she would take care of it. And now hopefully, human mothers have that kind of power. But we know that Divine Mother has that kind of power. So we need to solve our problems in the direction of God. I feel lonely. I feel afraid. When I was out there swimming back and forth, imagining the shark, right? There's 2 ways that you can deal with a dilemma like that. One, you can say, there's no sharks, there's no sharks, there's no sharks, like that. But a part of you is going to say, maybe there is. You can insist on a certain reality. Or the other way is, you go all the way in and accept that it's true. What if? What if this is really what's going to happen? What if Divine Mother wants to teach me something? Solve your problem in the direction of trust. I was in seclusion for many months when I was writing this big book I wrote about Swami Kriyananda. And I was in this wonderful isolated cabin with no internet, no cell phone coverage like that. All I had was an air horn that my friends insisted I take that the neighbors could hear if something really happened. And one night, I was perfectly happy there. I'd been there for weeks. And there was a neighbor a mile away. It wasn't in wilderness. But I suddenly developed this terrible fear that some marauding band was going to come and break into the house and beat me. I had a picture of them with heavy objects. I have no idea where it came from. Some past life fear, who knows? And all of a sudden, where I had been perfectly happy, suddenly I'm totally terrified like this. So once again, what do I say? No, it's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen. See, that's what we try to do. We try to impose our will on society, on the world around us. And I'm not that strong. The world around me just kind of snickers at me when I say that. So I thought, well, I could pack up and go home. That's one thing I could do. But I tried to do the other. I tried to solve the problem in the direction of God in this way. My Divine Mother is the truest friend that I have. The power of the divine, I am loved by the divine. The nature of the divine force is pure, unconditional love. I don't have to earn it. I don't have to be good enough. I don't have to do anything at all. I merely have to exist. When the baby is born, the mother doesn't say, well, I'll love you if you promise to be a doctor and support me in my old age. It's true. But you laugh because that sounds so selfishly foolish. But how often in our relationship with the divine are we behaving just like that? I have to do this, I have to do that. The very idea that we would be loved just because we exist, just because we're part of the mother, just like the child is part of the mother. That's what the whole human world is there just to give us a glimpse of what the divine world is. It's just a shadow of what the divine is. So I'm there in this cabin all by myself. I can't really, start the air horn so that the neighbor will come over and I say, oh, I got afraid. About what? Nothing, just got afraid. Nothing happened like that. So I said, well, what if? What if Divine Mother does decide that what really needs to happen to me is, some drunken teenagers come down this road and just see an old lady here and take advantage of her? What if? And then just try to think, how could that ever be an expression of Divine Mother's love? It's an interesting question, isn't it? What if? What if many lifetimes ago I did that to someone else? What if my fear has to be faced and overcome? What if I need to be challenged to the utmost? How much do I believe in God's plan for my life? And so I just played the whole thing out all the way to the end till I'm sort of left bleeding on the floor. This might sound morbid to you, but the truth is it was wonderful. What am I afraid of? You see, that's always the question. What am I afraid of? It's fear that moves us always. Always. Fear is the opposite of love. From the Bible, St. John, perfect love casts out all fear. Because if this world is a creation of the divine, and if we are little children in the presence of God, what is there to be afraid of? I was fortunate to have a very sweet mother. And I remember a particular incident in my life. They sent me to sleepaway camp. I was 7 years old and kind of a scrawny little 7 at that. And everybody else in the camp was a little older than me. And one of the arts and crafts things was to make you weave pot holders out of stretchy things. Some of you are nodding. You went to Jewish day camp too, just like I did, right? But this was sleepaway camp. My little fingers, I couldn't cope. Because everybody in camp made potholders. I didn't have any potholders. Parents' Day comes. Parents are coming to visit. Everybody takes their potholders and hangs them on little nails on their bunks. I didn't have any potholders. The girl above me, my friend, her name was Rainey. She had little potholders. She had several. She had more than one. So I took 2 of them and I put them on mine. The children brain, you just think, I'll just do that like that. I was raised in an extremely ethical Jewish family. Lying or stealing was way off the table. I wasn't afraid of my parents at all. They were very fair, but this was really a no-no. And then of course, surprise, surprise, Rainey noticed that she used to have 4 and now she only has 2 and I have 2 and they look like hers. And so there's this whole caboofle going on, like this. And I'm there in my little skinny self saying, they fell. Just how I just looked right at my parents and said, they fell, like this. I was in big trouble. I knew I was in big trouble. But my mother, God bless her forever, she's been in the astral world a long time now, but God bless her. She's looked at me, she opened her arms, she put her arms around me, and she just comforted me. Jesus said, after I am gone, I will send you the Comforter. She just comforted me. The most interesting thing to me is I'm absolutely certain that my parents would have talked to me about what I had done. There's no doubt that they did. I have no memory of that, none. But I remember the way my mother opened her arms to me. Now, I'm very fortunate, I know not everyone has that kind of memory. But all of us have the understanding of what that would feel like. Because we do know how much we are loved by God, we're just afraid to believe it. I was in seclusion once, and a lot of what you do when you're in seclusion and you're meditating is using your focused will to lift your energy, as the Swamis are leading us, and Satyadev led us tonight. Lift your heart, lift your attention to the point between the eyebrows. And that's what we do. That's how we use our willpower. That's what yoga is. We're trying to do that. So I was in a long seclusion and I was like that. And then it occurred to me, maybe I should just try to receive rather than always trying to give. Even always trying to give is part of the way you try to stay in control, don't you? I'm in charge of this energy, and I'm earning my yoga stripes right here by doing all this seva. But the purpose is to be in the presence of the divine at all times. And all of a sudden I thought, well, let me just try to receive. It was so interesting to me because I could feel this flood of comfort coming to me from the infinite. And it got to about here, which is about an inch away from my heart. And it wasn't Divine Mother's lack of determination to love me. It was my lack of courage to allow myself to be loved. All those 7 years from when Swami gave me that advice and then I gave it to someone else, I had begun to understand that we have to resolve everything by turning it over to the divine. This is why Jesus said, suffer little children to come unto me. It's not because we're supposed to be childish. One more story on that. Paramhansa Yogananda lived in Calcutta, and the home he lived in as a child is still there at 4 Garpar Road, and pilgrims who are devoted to Yogananda go there all the time. I went there first in 1986 and multiple times since then. A niece and a nephew, a niece and a nephew of Yogananda were living there. The nephew was 15 years old, the niece was 3 years old. In 1935, Yogananda came to America in 1920. He went back to India once for 1 year in 1935. When he went there, his nephew was 15 and his niece was 3. And his niece, who I met, and she told this story, she was 3. And Yogananda comes, this magnificent saint whom she considers to be her guru, but she's 3 years old. And she was so taken with him that whenever he came to the house, she would run up, she would wrap herself around his legs, and she would refuse to let go. She would insist on being on his lap at all times. They tell about when he was going out to the movies. I don't know why Yogananda was going to the movies, but he was going to the movies. Little children were not allowed in. She threw such a tantrum that he put her on his chest and buttoned his coat over her and snuck her into the movie theater And then she spent the whole movie with her head against his heart, like that. She remembers none of this, but her family tells her about this. My first thought, an intellectual person, I think, oh, what a waste. The 15-year-old Hare Krishna Ghosh, he tells all these wonderful stories about, how Master was and what he did. And Shefli just tells you what she was told. But then I thought about it differently. Because her conscious mind doesn't remember, but her soul knows. Her divine spirit, her superconscious self. When you have your life review, the whole story is right there from the moment you come out of the womb, from conception. It's all in you. And what a gift. Because never for 1 second did it cross her mind that he wasn't just as glad to see her as she was to see him. Here I am, sir, and I love you, and of course you're going to love me back, aren't you? Suffer little children to come unto me. That's why Jesus said that. And that's what we have to cultivate within ourselves. Forget all this looking good in front of everyone stuff. The only person we have to please, the only reality we have to please, is that Divine Mother. The reason Master brought that, the reason Yogananda brought that, is to take away our fear. Who is afraid of the mother? Who is afraid of the comforter? I can bring whoever I am to the lap of the mother, and she will just take me in her arms. All right, my friends. Dambara.
Lest we forget to mention it, these bookmarks here have a QR code that tells more about this music in case you're interested in it. This particular song is a poem by Yogananda that is really the last word. It's called God, 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 and it was put to music by Swami Kriyananda. That is the very last line of each verse, and I will ask you, if you feel to join me singing that. From the depths of slumber, as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness, I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trials shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises, loudly chanting, God, God, God. When my mind weaves dreams, dreams, with threads of memories, on that magic cloth will I emboss God, God, God. Every night in time of deepest sleep, when my peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, my joy comes singing evermore. God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any. God, God, God. One last time. God, God, God.
So I'd like to give a very big hand to Asha Nayaswami. It's a beautiful teaching tonight. And also a very big hand to Dambara for his beautiful singing. And we'd really like to take this opportunity to give our deep appreciation for Asha Nayaswami for coming to the ashram and for this wonderful and very inspiring program this past several days. This was the second time Asha Nayaswami has visited the ashram, and we pray by God's grace for many more times. And we'd like to take the opportunity also to bid farewell to Asha Nayaswami as she will be leaving the ashram tomorrow. Also, as Dambara will be leaving the ashram tomorrow, and also Atul, we'd like to thank very much Atul, who's the videographer. Let's give him a very big hand. Also leaving tomorrow is Jing. Jing is here? Okay, I'd like to give a very big hand to Jing, one of Asha Nayaswami's students, and Joseph. Joseph is here. Okay, good. Sorry to share the secret. And also Jill, that's not Jing, no. We'd like to also bid farewell to Jill. Jill is here. Oh, Jill is in the back. And also Pooja. So I'd like to give them all a very big hand. Wonderful students. And we wish them all a safe journey tomorrow, and we wish great success for Asha Nayaswami in her work and teaching and inspiring and uplifting many souls around the world and connecting them with the ancient teachings of yoga and the sacred lineage of Paramhansa Yogananda. And we very much look forward to welcome back Asha Nayaswami again soon to the ashram. So let's give her another very big hand.